Bona tarda. Bona tarda a tothom, gràcies per la seva assistència. Vaig a passar a l'anglès, com saben que la sessió d'avui és en anglès. So good afternoon everyone, and welcome to this presentation of the online recent catalogues of the 19th century painters Degas and Bazille by Michel Schulman, whom I welcome to Barcelona.
Thank you.
Tomorrow he will fly to Madrid, where he has also the same presentation at the Museum Thyssen-Bornemisza. So I also want to thank him for his presence here and for giving us this opportunity first than to the Museum Bornemisza. I want to present, to introduce Michel Schulman. He's Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres. This is a national cultural distinction of the French government. And he's also a member of the Chambre nationale des experts spécialisés. He's president and founder of the Association des journalistes du patrimoine. He's former member of the Commission du Vieux Paris, former journalist à Radio France Internationale, spécialisé en patrimoine culturel. And he's also former director of the collections at the Artaud Flammarion Edition.
Long time ago.
He has authenticated more than 15 new paintings of the painter Bazille and has different publications about this author and the painter Théodore Rousseau and L'École de Barbizon. He has participated in several catalogues of painting exhibitions in different museums around the world and has given lectures in many different countries. So thank you very much, Mr. Schulman, for being with us. And I will be there because I want to see better the catalogue, yeah? So I think that I will be better.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Thank you very much for hosting myself today in Barcelona. Thank you for Ramon, sorry, I'm mixing Italian and English. And also thank you to Miguel Ramon, who is not here today, but is coming tomorrow to Barcelona with me at the Thyssen Museum, where I'm going to help this the same lecture. We call that lecture in English, and French we call it conférence. There's no difference between the two, but we call that a lecture because I'm doing that at all. So first of all, I'd like to emphasize the subject of this lecture, because as I will show you, I was an expert and an art historian on 19th century French painting, and I made catalogue raisonné, and maybe I should try to explain what is the catalogue raisonné. First of all, the catalogue raisonné is a book on paper. It used to be, now it's online, which used to put together all the work, in brackets all the work, of a painter, which makes you somehow an expert on the painter. And so this is usually thick books that I was doing in the past 40 years. So hopefully I will have all this lecture within 20 years in Spanish, hopefully. Anyway, so in the meantime, I'm going to introduce myself and what I did, what I published, what I'm doing, what I will do, and this is all online. And I will explain to you why I made the choice between book, let's say books, but catalogs, whether they're on paper, and now why are they online? There are meanings and deep meanings which are sharp today and very contemporary subjects. So who am I? Here it is. Oh. Come on. Yeah, okay. This is what Judy said, what happened. So I published in 1995, I published the first Bazille paper catalogue today. We'll see online, which I published again a few months ago, in last April. Then afterwards, 2 years later, in 1997, I published the Rousseau catalogue today. I mean, Théodore Rousseau, the master of Barbizon school, with Miguel, and this was the first catalogue today on Rousseau, which is a big master of 19th century French painting, a landscape painting in Fontainebleau, Savo Paris area. So this was the works on paper, first of all, in 1997, and in 1999, I published the Rousseau painting catalogue, which are both different, big, thick paper catalog. Then afterwards, I contributed to exhibition in Fondation Custodial about Jean-Michel, a 19th century early French painter, you know, gigantic. And so here it is in Bazille, you can see that there. These are two supplements I published in 2006 and 2016, and it's not in commercial. It's only in libraries and museums and so on. Then in 2019, I mean 3 years ago, I published the catalog, Degas catalog online, which is the first online catalog I made. And then last April, I published the Bazille catalogue, also online. So since then, since last April, I made several lectures with the lectures here in Paris all around, and in many places, in auction houses, exhibit places, in the Orsay Museum, and I'm doing now here in Barcelona. Tomorrow I'm going to the Chisel Museum, and in October, mid-October, I'm going to Geneva, in Musée d'Art et d'Histoire, where they're waiting for me to the same conference in French. So I saw between paper publications and digital publications, there's a big difference because, and it was difficult to make up my mind to publish online. Because, you know, previously, paper publications were so hard in people's mind and hard historians' mind that it was deeply settled in their mind. So it was difficult to make the change between one habit, one custom, you know, and the other one in on paper on digital publication. And there are several reasons why I changed my mind. First of all, I meant that if I would propose this publication, the book publication, to editors, to a publishing company, nobody would take Degas anymore, nobody would take Bazille anymore, because first of all, it's too much work, it's too deep, too hard, too expensive, and so on. That's the first step. So I decided it was one step to make up my mind to make a digital publication. The second one is that you also, when you click on the digital publication, it's known all over the world immediately. So it was for Degas in 2019. Second, third, a digital publication allows you to update immediately all the time what is being published on internet. So it's a big thing to understand. So within the 3 or 4 reasons, I decided about 2015 to change my mind and to publish on digital publication and to leave apart purposely the paper publication. It's not that paper is not important, of course. I like paper reading, I like paper books, I like paper art publication, of course. But that doesn't have any matter with what I'm doing now. So this is the reason why I changed my mind. And it was difficult because I told you the habit was so close to paper publication. But today, it has become a habit. There's several art historians are making such publication online, and we'll see the advantage, but also the disadvantages of online publications. But anyway, as far as I know, I sent my proposal to make lectures to museums, to libraries in Europe, in the United States, and so on. And I received a very, very hard and very warm reception of this idea. And the RKD, the INHA, the Institut National d'Histoire de l'Art in Paris, where I'm going to make the same private lecture in October. They are enthusiastic about this purpose. It has become a real purpose in art history to make such publications. So this is the reason I made up my mind. Secondly, there's something I must tell you, that people ask me why I'm doing free access on this publication. Because there are two, Degas and Bazille, and they are all free, and it's only a matter of moral, non-commercial publication. I want it to be like that. And I don't want to be paid for that. I don't want to be mixed with commercial publication, with commercial purposes, and so that I decided to do that. Not all people agree with me, but I think I don't care. And this is very forceful because to the museum, for instance, to the library, it is very strong because they say I'm not commercial, so they give me the photos for free, usually. I didn't pay any photo in museums. So for the Degas, for instance, there is 1,700 works online, pastel and paintings, and I didn't pay any. For other people that are private collection, if they don't say anything so far, if they say something about a photo, they want me to pay the rights, I will withdraw the photo and say, okay, I don't want to pay for that. So it has a very academic and pedagogical reason to put that online for free. And that is a very shared purpose, because people like that not to pay, of course, yeah? For reason you imagine. So, in the next future, also, I made a proposal to make this such lecture at the Kunsthaus in Zurich, in Arcady in Holland, and in the Rijksmuseum, in the Royal Collection Glasgow, in New York, in the Morgan Library, at the hopefully MoMA, I don't know, and many places all around the world, mainly in Europe and in the United States. So there will be this is going to be built in the next future, and it started last April with Bazille. So who is Bazille, by the way? Bazille, for those you all know the guy, of course. But Bazille was let's say a so-called impressionist, so-called. He was in between landscape, 19th century French painting, and impressionist painting. He was in between because he painted only 7 years between 1863 and 1870 when he died at the Prussian war, the war between Prussia and France. So he shot dead. And so Bazille is known at the beginning to be the closest friend of Monet, who he helped. Money helped all the time. Monet was not all the time. He had no money. Monet had no money at the time, and Bazille had some money. So Bazille helped him, and they met at the Claire Atelier in Paris, a famous one in the 19th century, and they met with Renoir. He met with Sisley and Monet. They are the three triumvirate, I would say, you know. So, and then Bazille joined Monet in Barbizon, close to Fontainebleau, about a half-hour drive from Paris, south. And he went for cell painting, and he started painting there with Monet, and he made the Génie sur Mer for Monet and so on. So they were close friends, and they've always been friends till the end of the Bazille. So Bazille came just a second for history. I'm not going to tell more about that. Bazille came from Montpellier, south of France, from a Protestant family, a very warm family, very close, many people around. There was at the time 40,000 people in Montpellier, and the leaders of this society in Montpellier then at the time was about 250 people. All of them more or less Protestant, religiously linked, economically linked, socially linked, politically linked, religiously linked. They're all linked together. And so Bazille left in Montpellier to join Paris because he started to be a student in medicine. And by the way, you know that Montpellier was at the time the greatest medical university in the world. So he started to make medical studies in Montpellier, and then he didn't want to because he knew that he wanted to be a painter. So he decided his parents to go up to Paris, to be paid by the parent, by the way, and he said, okay, I'm going to do my studies, medical studies in Paris. He did 1 year, and he felt. He felt all his exams. He probably did that on purpose, and said, you see, to his father in the lecture, said, you see, Daddy, I'm not for that. I'm not going to be a doctor. I want to be a painter. So the parents say, okay, we're going to pay the studies, and you start. which he did, but he never sold anything. So he painted 7 years, you know, only, and in 70 years, in 70 years, sorry, he made about 83 paintings and about 200 drawings. We'll see some of them, you know. So here is Bazille. So I will start with Bazille because he helped me to understand that to some point I should propose this kind of lecture instead of proposing a Bazille only lecture because nobody knows Bazille so far. So it helped me to understand that I should link the two, Degas and Bazille together, because I'm proposing a lecture on digital catalog and catalog online. And Bazille, when I decided, the person who decided to do Bazille is not here, he's going to join me tomorrow in Madrid. I didn't want to do Bazille anymore because I did in 1995, and it was such a work to do that. So I said, no, I don't know. So we talked, and after 3 hours of talking, I said, okay, we'll do that. And in 15 months, last year, we did it. And it was a huge work. And a huge work because the method of digital catalogs are so different from paper catalogs that it's another world today. And so, and one of the most difficult things to consider, let me come back to Bazille. Yeah. Here. So, if you want to know more about Bazille, on paper pages, there are 100 pages that is reproduced here, but digitally it doesn't mean anything. The page doesn't mean anything, you know. But anyway, if you want to read more about Bazille, there's an old bibliography here with many details. Okay, and there are 5 chapters, and the beginning, the story, the death, and so on. The link with the artwork in Paris at the time, the artwork in the Montpellier area where we went every summertime and so on. So we'll see, we'll read. It's either in French or in English. Both in Degas and Bazille are in English. And to say the truth, that was a big deal for publication in digital because we had the translation, which I took deep for that, you know, intentions, you know, and we had to read again all the translation to know whether it could be good or not, enough good or not, or so on. And the main problems were, for instance, the links of the titles, because the links in French and English were badly translated by people, and that has to be read again, every line, everything from the beginning to the end. That's a big problem of translation. And I decided to translate because I think that people that will consider Bazille and Degas, you know, in the world, probably they might speak French, but mainly speak English, you know, in Japan, in China, and in Europe, and everywhere it's in English. So I'm not saying that the English is perfect, but it's closest to hopefully to perfection, hopefully. You know? So something I encountered in Bazille work was the problem of links, and that's new because on paper catalogs you don't have that kind of problems, you know. But when you have links, for instance, here, and there are many, there are hundreds of links in Bazille catalog, and in the bibliography, biography, sorry, but in the works here you have, and here the painting here, okay, and every word has an explanation, a text, which is not the case for Degas, because for Bazille there's only 80. I told you 83 paintings, about 200 drawings, which I made text all about. In Degas, it was impossible for 700 works that are online today. You know? So, and Bazille, so let's say, for instance, we'll take this, the rose, let's say the important one, yeah. Here, the one you probably all know, is Réunion Famille, you know, which is the Ancien Museum. Yeah, it's better here than there because these are large, too large. Anyway, so this is the one he painted in 1867, sorry, in Montpellier in summertime. And on that, there's a family. All the families, almost the families there. It's a large family, but the main family is there. Here is uncle. Here's a mother, father, another uncle, cousins, brother, another cousin. And where is Bazille, by the way? Where is he? He's here. He's mostly hidden on this side. We don't know why, because he's discreet, and you will see if I have time, there's a pastel, that's where he's also on the left of the pastel, and even this is also large. It's a museum of state. So, and so, here is the example, one example of a text of a painting by Bazille. You have of course the photo, you have the presentation, the title, and you have the date, the support, the size, signature or not, sign or not sign. Here it is. You have the links with the museum, and every word, that's very important for people that want to start something. I advise you, if you want to make sure that you have a good contribution with public organization, museums, and the library, you made what I did. You proposed them a link to the museum. It's what I did. When I started to publish the Degas catalog, I was in touch with the St. Petersburg Hermitage Museum, and said, well, you're going to pay the photo. I said, no. So I don't know how to figure out, I don't remember that, but it was quite long, 5 years ago. I said, okay, why don't we think that you put that online for free, and you make a link with the museum website. So now, in the Bazille and Degas catalogues, every work that belongs to each work that belongs to the institution like a museum or a library or whatever, not private of course, they don't have it, maybe a website. They have a link with the museum's website. That is interesting because they recognize they give you for free the photo, which is important, and they recognize you are the one of Bazille or Degas, or among the one. You know, they recognize that. That psychologically is important. You know? So then you will ask questions afterwards, okay? If you don't mind. So you have here the provenance, we call it historique, provenance, from the beginning to today. You have the exhibitions, all the exhibitions, and there are lots here for this one. It's one of the most, it's an icon on Bazille, of course, as you know. And you have the exhibitions, and for exhibition you have here you have the name. Sometimes you don't have the name, you know, it depends. And then you have the bibliography, you know, and you know, here for instance, Zola, Les Événements Illustrés, you don't have the title of the article. And I will tell you, let me know if I forget that. The title, the complete title of the exhibition and the bibliography are somewhere else. For Degas and Bazille, you know. So then you have the text, which is a big deal to do and to reconsider for digital publication for me. Sometimes they are brand new, sometimes they come from the paper publication in 1995. Sometimes I didn't change my textbook because it didn't need to. So in this one, this is for instance an example of the capacity of all the links you have, the terrain numérique, you know, here, coming, yeah. This is the one that's in the same place, à Méric, Montpellier. The painting is a Petit Palais in Geneva. The painting was burnt a long time ago. So here's one. If you get into that one, a new one, you get other links. And that is a big question when you start a digital publication, because the link didn't exist before. And this is or something like the sharpest advantage of a digital publication to make that kind of links, because it didn't exist before, you know. And you have to make sure the links are right. You have to make sure that the links are translated correctly. The family gallery here, you know, But if you don't make a good, at the starting point, if you don't make a good translation, and a similar translation everywhere, you make mistakes. Because then you get lost when you with your research. Because it's going to be a different name, a different location, a different purpose, and you get lost. So at the beginning, and what I did for Bazille, and I will do that for the government later, it has to be dealt with correctly. And what I did for Bazille is that, as you might know, there was a Bazille exhibition in 1916 in Montpellier, south of France, Paris, and Washington, National Gallery, Washington. And there was a catalog in French and English. And then I decided to take the title given by the exhibition of the Bazille works name, and I aggregated that to my website. That's the way I decided to. And because at the beginning I tried to make my own translation, and it didn't went well. It didn't go well. So I decided to take the catalog of Bazille exhibition, and this is all set with the names of Bazille. So coming back to the to Bazille, yeah. So you have here the French, yeah, okay. And so as you can see here, you have a lot of links which I told you about. Is very important to deal with at the very beginning of launching such a work. I'm going to show you some several works I dealt with for Bazille. I will come to the afterwards, and they're an important piece of work, as you see. There are some works I discovered, and I want to show you some examples. Funny. First of all, the first work that Bazille made in Montpellier, in Barbizon, with Monet, that one. It's in April, which is still there, not the spring yet, so that's the one. We know. This one was when Bazille died in 1870. His father went to Rouen, north of France, close to Paris, about an hour from there, and he started to find out his son. And he asked the curé, the priest of the place, to help him. And they discovered him in the charnier, what do you call that charnier now? In a place where there are a lot of soldiers all together. Because he was a sergeant, and he had the uniform. So his father took him back to Montpellier for funerals, and for reward to the priest, Roland, he offered this painting, which it's after Veronese. The painting is Montpellier, Musée de Montpellier, and the painting now is in the church of Roland. You can see it, everybody can see it. It's a reward. Another thing that was interesting to know, I just skipped a lot of things, of course. You know, it took me such a long time to do that. So in an hour or so, to sum up, it's difficult. Anyway, this is interesting. This was said to be by the PhD expert on the Bazille, the standardized Normandy coast, north of France. And so we discovered that it was not Normandy coast. It was Barbizon, close to a village called Barbizon. Here is the place on the back of the painting here, which is today. The flower don't exist anymore, no more. But that's the place, you know. And okay, and then here are the painting that was made in the Barbizon at the time, you know, very close to Barbizon School. This is in Orsay Museum. This one very different, as you might see, much more kind of impressionist. That one is more close to Barbizon School, and this was more impressionism, kind of, you know. But I prefer this one anyway. It was in Chicago, you know. And okay, and this is when he was in 1863. In 65, he returned to Barbizon, kind of place around Barbizon, and he was with Monet, And when I was injured, for some reason, we just more or less know why. And Bazille made this Monet in a bed with a wound here on the leg. And Bazille knew a little bit of medical things, so Monet asked him to help him for that. It was not important, but it was something. And so this is Monet young, very young, you know, about 23 or 24, 23. Now keep in mind this one, because this is close to Barbizon also, you know, and you'll see why I'm going to show you. This is probably the first Bazille painting I saw in Montpellier around 1980 with a public collection. And I'll let you know, have a look. There is no provenance, no history, no signature. And okay, let's go on because I want to show you something. And okay, okay. Here is a painting that was shown to me for Impressionism probably 6 years ago. It's signed, initial, FB, Degas and Bazille. So I said, okay, it looks like Bazille. I said, okay, it's okay. And but on the dot of that, on top of that, what is interesting is that in this painting, let me enlarge it, you have it here, the landscape of the street I just showed you before. You know, so it means that the painting expertise at the beginning was right, and the painting that expertise there was also right. And for some reason, an auction house refused it, but I was right. Anyway, you know, I'm going to tell you something. It's a day fight. This is a day fight. When you get to put that online and to work and to publish catalogues raisonnés on Degas and Bazille, it's a daily work. It's a daily fight. Okay. So another fight, another thing. This is Renoir, which at the beginning it's a Musée d'Orsay, you know, famous. He's a friend of his. It's just in the atelier, the studio, you know. And so it's been very, very likely, you know, as a friend in the studio. So I worked on this for a long time, and here it is. So this was, well, the photo is not good here. I better here. It's really enlarged. And this was bought it was published in my catalog in 1995, first of all. The reproduction is so good, but it was there because of the printer, not me, Michael, but the printer. And so I defended this painting for a long time because some people say it's not. It's not on the time, it's not by Bazille, and so on and so on. So, yes, it is. So at the end, this was proposed to someone, let me forget it, and in the end, a very famous museum, the Cleveland Museum bought it. Now it's between the Cleveland Museum, you can see online, between Degas, between César, between Monet, between Renoir, between so and so. So it was a success that such a museum like the Cleveland Museum just trust me to buy it as a museum. So there is a slight difference because I said in my presentation on the text here, this beautiful portrait, highly probable, Renoir. I wrote that. And they said no, they say it's Renoir. They made a step forward, you know, to say it's Renoir. It's not probably Renoir, it is Renoir. That way they are allowed to, of course. They bought it, they're allowed to say what they want. But I said, probably Renoir. I wasn't sure it was, I have no photo of Renoir. There are photos of Renoir at the time, but I wasn't sure it was typically Renoir picture, portrait, you know. So I would say, highly probable. And say, oh, okay, it is Renoir. Okay, so much better, you know. And so here is the painting he did at the Egmont, south, close to Montpellier. Not very far from the Mediterranean Sea, you know. And usually in summertime, every summertime you would get down from Paris to Montpellier for summertime because his family was there. He could paint and he could be close to his family. It was very close to the family, you know. And so here another adventure. I'll just tell you about adventure, about typical things that are new, brand new for you. This is something which was not in my catalog in 1995. And it is interesting because formerly there used to be a portrait by Bazille close Verlaine has a singer, more or less, a poet or singer, which was bought by the Dallas Museum. There, in my text, before, in 1995, I wasn't sure, but I didn't see it myself. So I was reluctant to that. So recently, about 6 years ago, someone showed it to me, and because it was sent to me by Courbet, you know, and the Courbet committee said no, and I think they were right. And then the restorer just cleaned the painting, interesting to see, and said, well, there's something below Courbet, a big Courbet, there's a big Courbet signature I can see here, in black, you know, usually. Why that Courbet? Because Courbet was expensive at the time, and Bazille was not, of course. Around the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, Courbet was much money, Bazille was like, no. Everybody was signed Courbet. That's not the first time. So he cleaned, he took off the signature, and what did they see? What did he see? He saw the F. Bazille, and it was dedicated à mon ami le poète Verlaine, to my friend Verlaine, the poet, you know, in full. There, you see? You will see. Here, you see that that's a dedication here, and that's the Bazille signature. And what I discovered in between, I knew that in the letter, because when he left, when Verlaine left Paris to join Rimbaud in Brussels, they were long, you know that. And he left there, and he made a list of the painting that he left at his place to his mother. And in the list there was one, a painting by Bazille, oil, a painting by me, by Bazille, in brackets, oil. This was the painting. So the painting was then sold to New York, I think it belongs to a French collection, hopefully. And I don't understand why the French government didn't stop the protection of this, not because of Bazille, but because of Verlaine, of course. You know that. Anyway, that was a big deal. It was sold about $500,000 or $600,000 at the time. It's a beautiful painting, you know. That's a big success. The most expensive Bazille is here. It was I'll let you know, in 2005 or 04, it made at least $5 million in New York. New York? Totally New York. But that was the most expensive Bazille ever sold. Why? It was like very much like a noir, very much like also a painting by Courbet and Delacroix. Maybe today it would reach this kind of price. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. So yeah, this is okay. Let's go on quickly. And some example. Yeah, that is for research purpose. I never saw this painting before. Never saw it. It was sold in Milano in May 1987, and I never saw it. But I decided to put that online, and I did on the paper catalog because, have a look. It's only for art interest. I'm not sure Bazille. It's not like Bazille all the time, but Bazille is so different. In 7 years, it's been so different, you know. And because in the Département des Arts Graphiques du Louvre, the Louvre Museum, there is a carnet de dessin, 2 carnets de dessin like this, you know. And in one of the carnet de dessin, here is the drawing, you know. And so I'm saying in my text here that I'm not saying that it's 100% sure it's about Bazille, but as an expert, art historian, I felt that I need to put that online because for our sake it was interesting to show that it might be about Bazille. And what I'm saying so is Bazille within 7 years, we'll come to the Degas now, but Bazille in 7 years has been sometimes very impressionist, or so-called impressionist, sometimes like landscape painter, 19th century, like Barbizon School, for instance, like you can see at the beginning. And it's very difficult to know what it would become of him when he died at 29 years old? Would it be impressionist or not impressionist? Would it be a landscape painter at the end? We just don't know. People ask me, what would it become of Bazille? I said, I don't know. Who could know? Nobody. So we'll see why I'm saying so. So that I decided to put that online just for art's sake, you know. And I think it was interesting to I'm not sure about the painting. Maybe someday I will see that. Someday I won't. I never do. So here is that's a story. Also, we're coming from story to story, but it's more interesting. Here in Bazille, in 1866, he sent 2 paintings to the salon, and one of them, the 2 were refused, and one was said une jeune fille au piano, a lady playing the piano, and it was 90 high, 1.20 meters width, okay, and it was refused, and then I've been trying to find out where this painting had become of, and where was it? Where could it be? Where? Where in France? Was it destroyed by the war? Because Bazille was just moved from an atelier to another atelier? Nobody knew. I didn't know. I tried to find out. And something which is good for exhibition sometimes, that they make X-rays, radio. And the painting was below this one. This one was bought by from the family to the Museum, and this, the painting, the first Jeune fille au piano, was below this one. So Bazille recovered the canvas, using it again, because it probably was expensive, and here it was. And it was discovered in 2016 on that video. Is that right? I think it's interesting to know. At last we know where it was. And sometimes I'm dreaming, I'm saying that I might, with a technical possibility today, we might possibly recover the color of the Jeune fille au piano. I don't know. Maybe not, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe someone will tell me that. So, here is the famous one, you know, Atelier La Pyramide. Here is Bazille, here. You should put aside because we don't know what's the painting is behind. I think I know what, maybe, I don't know. This is Manet, this is Monet, this is Manet, and we don't really know who are they. They could be Zola and Renoir. That is a friend of his, Momet, who's playing the piano, a very close friend. And here are some of the painting he did. Presentació à l'Atelier, I'll show you about that one. That is Renoir, and this is the one I'm going to show you now. And one here, the card player here at the bottom. And this is clearly Paris site behind, with the Paris building behind the window. So I never went to this place. I knew the first atelier, Place de First Albert, above the Delacroix atelier, that I went to. And the other ones, the Baudelaire, I never went to because people are difficult to, you know, with the code, you don't meet people. And with this one, I dreamed to make an article about what is left about these 3 or 4 ateliers by Bazille, or Bazille, I don't know. So, this is the one I'm going to show you, the study, you know, of the atelier of the toilets, you know. And yeah, something is also interesting. You might have it in mind. I have a problem with titles. That's today a contemporary problem. You know, or you probably know, of course you do, that we're changing some names. And recently, I had someone who wrote me about Degas. He said, well, you know that National Gallery in London changed the name of the Russian dancers. No Russian anymore. You know why, of course. He said, call it Ukrainian dancers. I said, well, what I'm going to do? I didn't answer. I couldn't answer that. So the National Gallery in London changed his mind, and they call them, they delete the Russian data, and probably they call it Ukraine or sometimes data, what they call. But so the question is that, what will I do with that? It's important because that was the title. And you make research, you make Russian or not Russian, you make Ukrainian or not Ukrainian, or only dancer. That makes a big difference for research, you know. And so there was a problem with these two works, which were at the museum with an exhibition in 2016 in Montpellier, Paris, and Washington. And previously they called Degas and Bazille, Negroes with pulleys. Negroes in the United States, you forget it, of course. But in Paris, Montpellier, they call it jeune fille au pivoine. Jeune femme au pivoine. Jeune femme, yeah. So what I had to decide, I didn't know at the beginning, it took quite a long time to decide. So I made up my mind, said, okay, I'm going to be contemporary, and to call it jeune femme au pivoine, like we do today. But in brackets, I would say before it was called Degas and Bazille, Negroes with pulleys, in French or English. So they know what was the previous name and what is the name today. Am I right? Am I wrong? That I don't know. But I had to decide one way or the other. So I decided to do it that way. Yeah. So this is interesting to know also. And I avoided the title, Negro, of course, with the help of the owner. We call it Middle Pig. And so this is discovery, which belongs to the private collection, which is close to the Bazille family. And I discovered something interesting. The whole text is brand new. I explain why I'm taking this position of an expert on Bazille to say that it is Bazille. This is in French and English. And so you have a model here. And the painting of the model, we have the big sign, and the detail, is in Marseille, the Beaux-Arts Museum. And we don't know where they share this museum, where and why Bazille and this Ruffiot, called painter, shared this model. They probably shared this model at home or in the studio or somewhere else. We just don't know. But that's a discovery, And that's totally brand new, because that's what I know before the online catalog. And I said, okay, I think it's Bazille. I'm saying why. I'm explaining to people why I think it's Bazille. It's a big position, Sometimes people say no, and it's also a real fight sometimes. Oh, yeah. So, so to come to the point, this is the latest autor self-portrait by Bazille, so last June in Paris, which reached 1,003,000 euros, and with plus the taxes, it's one more, whatever. And this is the latest auto self-portrait that belongs to the family, probably direct to the family, and it's a big, it's probably a French collection. And I'm emphasizing this to explain what I said before of Bazille. I'm starting with Degas now. Is that this one, this is the last one we know about Bazille when he joined the family in July 1870 before going to the war in September. We don't know the reason why he did that. It was not a command, an order, somebody else. It was a pure 19th century landscape, And what is interesting is that just a little time ago, before, with the two Negroes with pulleys, with a young lady with pulleys, the two black person, he was close to Monet, of course, as you can see. And then, why, we don't know, because he was there at home, so he can explain why, probably to his family, I don't know. And then he did this painting. It's a very large painting, as you can see, dimension. You see? Yeah, 140, or 2 meters, a very large one. And in the summertime, 3 months before going to the army and leave the family, he did that. Why did he do that? We just don't know. And it's a real question for me, because as you can see, from one point, the beginning in 1863 to 1870, he was so different on subject, so different on style, that is difficult to make expertise on Bazille. And that is really my purpose, And also something which is interesting also, that among the 83 paintings by Bazille, 50% are not science problem, And a curator told me one day, a few years ago, said, well, this important painting is not mentioned in the legend by Bazille. And the letters by Bazille are published in my paper catalog. There are 350 letters explaining a long work to do. I'll probably publish online someday. And in the letters, I reread the letters, and many important paintings by Bazille are not mentioned. So this curator was wrong, saying that, well, it's not in the letter, it's wrong. You know, I said, okay, I reread all the letters, you know, it's wrong. Anyway, I said, well, this big one is not mentioned in the letter. So there was a point to explain. Okay? So then we're coming just quickly to the dessin. Quickly, there are 31 dessin drawings, sorry, and from the beginning to okay, and this is the first. Before this one, we didn't know watercolor by Bazille. This one, you know, it's very much like Manet. You know, inside Bazille, I say it's okay. It's very small. You know, I let you know why I'm saying so. You see, 22 out of 17. So it reached 100,000 euros in 7 years ago. You know, and it's interesting to know that Bazille made watercolors, which I didn't doubt before, but we had proof that he did. Another example of what I'm saying is that yeah. Also this one. This is the eau forte. It's the only eau forte grading, say roughly, that we know of Bazille. It was all time belonged to the family. There is no provenance. It was 100% sure. But we don't know where he learned grading at the studio, where and why he was so sharp, so good on grading, you know. But it's a very nice grading, you know. It's the only one that we know of. And so, I'm saying so because, let's come to the point also, that it took me a long time to work on that. It's a pastel. In the letter in 1864, he came from Honfleur, close to the coast, you know, the North Sea, okay? And he's saying that a box of pastel is open in his luggage. So it meant that he probably was doing pastel at the time. And so it was submitted to me, and we made all the analysis of that, the signature, the pigments, and so on. And in the end, I said, okay, I think it's Bazille and didn't Bazille. So explaining that the eau forte was only example of eau forte. This is so far the only example of pastel, you know, or Bazille. There might be some others, who knows. And Bazille has got his brother here, his sister-in-law here, and is probably here onto the left of the pastel, faintly painted, drawn, you know. So, and finally this one also, and to say that something, you know, and this is a Jeune Femme au Pivoine also, and by the way, interesting to know, now look how it belongs to the Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge, England today. It was bought a long time ago, 20 years ago. And look at that, what they call them today. They kept the name Black Woman. I have no idea why, and I've not been in touch with them for that purpose. I will. But I'm surprised they keep this black mention in the title itself. It said, oh, young lady with bullies and so on. I don't know anything, but that's interesting to know. This was not in the Bazille exhibition in 2016. They refused it, and in the end, it was exhibited in Brooklyn, New York, and in the Boston Museum in 2019, which proved that I was right about Bazille. Well, so, okay, let's skip Bazille now, and I'm not going to show you the drawings because there are two carnets. There are about 200 carnet drawings, which I don't have time to. Let's come on to the point of the God. Where is the God? Yeah, the God. Okay. I told you the Degas also, with the different kind of work, has a digital catalog. It's not that I wrote text on each word. It was impossible, as I did for Bazille. But what is important to do, okay, let's go to research tool. Okay, now you have very important for the digital catalog. It is the same for Bazille. I'm going to show you the extension of the question about Degas, but it's, on that purpose it is more important. Degas, I have online 23 handed exhibition online here, 2,300, 2,300 online exhibition online here. And you have 1,700 bibliographic references. So when this is a tool that you can find in paper catalog, of course. And that is very sharp, that is very interesting. And if you start something like such a, you make such an ticking on a catalog, whatever it is. If you don't start well, you make a mistake. So go to every corner, and I know that because at the beginning I made mistakes. I can say I made mistakes, and now I hope I don't make mistakes. Not there. So here you have names, and you have research by the name of works, where it is. I will show you the town, the city, by date, the date, 1880. If you're not sure, you could put 5 years before, 5 years after, and you could scope of 10 years around, whatever you like. By provenance, histoire, by exhibition, bibliography, technique, pastel, oil, charcoal, a signature, or stamp, whatever you like. If you want to cross all the information, you come to 200 pieces, or one part, and you just click, and you just empty, fill up one of them, and the more you fill up, the more you get sharper, you get to the oil, to the word. So let's take, for instance, I want to show you something. Let's say a museum, okay? That's a whole list of museums where Bazille, where there are some Degas, or where the Degas have been exhibited. There are about 160 museums in the world that Degas were exhibited from 1870 to today. So let's go to the Metropolitan. I want to show you something. Okay, New York, there are two. Okay, you make research. There are 64 works. I'm saying only pastel and paintings. No drawing so far. I've been saying so far. So here you come to the points. And here there are 64, all of them. And I'm going to show you something, an example of the difficulty of the digital publication also. This is a name, Pablo Chrysanthème. She has a different name today. But because at the time when Bazille died in 1917, the seller, Durand, Vollard, and Bernet didn't make research of names at the time. Why? I don't know. Maybe because of the war. Who knows? Probably. In 1918, they were still in the war. Not yet, but in November, in May, yeah, they were still in the war. The war stopped in November 11th, as you know. So here, so you have all the explanation, all the canvas, the date, and so on, the reference, my reference, the history, provenance, of course, the exhibition, which is kind of a work to deal with. You have to check all of them, check all of them as far as you can. But the documents of the Metropolitan in New York are really, I don't know if they are updated, or they are exceptional. And I started that way. And here is something, an example of what you could do, and mistake I made at the beginning. You have all the main, I'm saying the main bibliography of this work from 1912 to today. Look at that. So my mistake at the beginning, and I'm very sure you tell that, if you don't start well, you make mistakes. Because here you don't have links with the bibliography. Too bad. Okay. If you want to have the full text, the full title, you've got to go to the bibliography list and you find out. But there should be a link between one here, here, the one, 1912. There's a full title, probably Degas, so and so. And this should give you the link with the list of the bibliography, which is not. It is the same for the exhibitions, because at the time I was buying with someone who was done with the word, with my paper publication, said work on words, which was a big mistake to work on, of course, at the time. But at the time, about 7 or 8 years, I didn't know what it was about. And the gap between the question of digital publication at the time and today, there's a word in between the two. Today we used to the link. At the time we were not, more or less. We are not. Maybe I'm wrong to some extent, but today it's a common sense. At the time we were not. So that should have a link. I'm telling you that I will never have time to work at that myself, and that for the future. So I want to show you this because it's a mistake, a birth mistake. But today you have applications. You might have applications. You can find applications. I could find one in New York and in the set. So to come to this point, because some people don't ask me this question, what kind of application did I use? So I have a friend of mine. When I was the chairman of the Association of Journalist Heritage in France, I was in the webmaster. So we started to work on a very design kind of layouts. And this Bazille, the Degas catalogue, is going to change, like Bazille's one, where the designer was involved with before being published, and this will change a month or two from now. It will turn out into the layout of Bazille, Michael Bazille's one. So this one, it was a reproach to the webmaster, of course. He's not a designer, he's only a designer. So we did that, and we're going to change that on Bazille's kind of layout, And so, so you come back to the research, to the resource. So the research. So you understood how the research tool is how is it made, what it's for, how you can use it, more or less, sharper and sharper and sharper, and you come to the work you look for. Depends, But the more the sharper you are, the better it is. With the date, with signature, not signature, support, color board, plus canvas, paper, and so on and so on. So it's easier. And the tool, this tool, that must be kept in mind. This tool is so powerful today, and it could be improved today. Of course, it could be improved. I don't know, but the guy's okay. It looks okay, but it always could be improved. But it's so sharp, it's so powerful that it can do a lot of research with that kind of tool. That, of course, you couldn't do with paper publications. And what I meant is that the world is so different for research, for art historian, for experts, for professors, and for people that work in the world of art. That is gorgeous to do that. I would say something that some people saying that I should keep paper. And a few days ago, someone who works on an important French painter, I'm not saying who it is, but he said, well, you should keep on paper. I tried to explain why I'm doing that. So when you have that in mind, there are some problems. I've tried to talk about the advantages, and you probably know. If you have questions, ask me later. There are some disadvantages and questions that you must keep in mind. First of all, so far there is no legal depot. You know what I mean, legal depot? When you have a book on paper, you send the mention to the Bibliothèque Nationale, probably here too, in France, everywhere, and it's kept there with the name and so on. So far, in France, I mean, I don't know where, somewhere else, I don't know, maybe here or in the United States, whatever it is, there's no legal depot. It is something that I'm thinking that the Bibliothèque Nationale in France is working on. I know that. I have to meet them in the next future. That's the first thing. The second thing, which is handicap. Now, what's going to happen with these websites after me? I'm not the velocity, you know. The question is that who is going to handle this huge work? And people said to me, is it going to be abandoned? Is it going to be given up? Is it going to be taken up by someone else? That I don't know yet. I've been in touch with some big organizations, museums, foundations, and I've not the answer so far. It's true for Bazille, it's true for Degas, and which I'm going to do for 2 years, it's true for the online, so the Rousseau catalogues also. So they are free. That I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's the question. All the more, if you don't pay the hébergement, the website, every year, they stop it immediately. You don't pay. It's not much money, but if you don't pay that, it's about 100 euros for the two, both. It's nothing. It's not much anyway. So, but you have to pay and think to pay. If you don't think to pay, they stop it immediately. I know that happened not with that, but another website. What's happening? There is no light, no electricity, whatever it is. I said, no, you didn't pay. Okay, I paid. Okay, but that's a big question because who is going to take care of that? Who is going to update the websites, you know? And that's for the people that works on the website, contrary to paper, which are on libraries everywhere, everywhere. That's a big question. And that's a big question for me. Hopefully there's someone in the world that will take that after me and will update these after me also, and they will keep it alive. That's the big problem. So, that's the big question. There are many advantages. There's some question today that when they start launching such, undertaking such a work, and it's a big work, I can tell you, that years and years and years and hours and hours and hours and months of work, alone. I did that alone, you know. And if that is going to be given up, for what reason, you know? So you might think that you're young, it doesn't matter, you know, but I'm not anymore. So, okay, that's the way it is, you know. So and some other people are younger also, they must think of that, because is it going to be everlasting or not, a paper publication. So this is, I want to show you the question of method. I didn't want to underline the advantages of these publications, and I didn't want to underline the disadvantages of publications. So there was a lot of problem I met when I started to do that, with years for Degas, years for Bazille. I'm not going to tell you about that, but it's an everyday question. And if you don't start with a good application, or start to start yourself an application, you can, of course. There are public applications, they're expensive. I know one in New York, I was in touch with a long time ago. They said, okay, we'll do that. How much? Oh, $30,000. Okay. What about? What afterwards? Oh, the stuff belongs to us. Forget it. You understand what I mean? I mean that the stuff on the website, they started to work with them. They would belong to them, which I didn't want to, you know. And so I decided to work on my own, to have a private, personal webmaster, which is okay, is really okay, and we get along well. Every day we get in touch with Bazille, we get in touch so many times a day, you know. It was sometimes not there. Anyway, that's a past, we forget it. And so I wanted to underline for your great sake. So hopefully, now I'm going to answer questions. If you have any, and with pleasure, maybe, okay, I'm listening. If you have questions, go ahead.